This is Christopher John Björknes. It is Easter Sunday, April 9th, 2023. Happy Easter, everyone. Today I'm going to be discussing a series of proposals I have been working on for decades. They would be great for an independent presidential candidate to put forward as part of his or her platform. Many of these ideas I put into this book in 2016. It was my first book to be officially banned. I was also discussing these things in this book. I anticipated that Vladimir Putin, who is an agent of Chabad Lubavitch and the oligarchs, would bring the world into World War III and would try to make it into a nuclear war. I tried to head that off with some proposals for peace, and I want to offer some solutions that would be great for the entire world and would end this conflict between the United States and Russia, which is entirely artificial, which has been manufactured by the enemies of both the United States and Russia. And what I suggest is that we abandon this insane policy of MAD, mutually assured destruction, whereby the United States and Russia and previously the Soviet Union threatened each other with complete annihilation and potentially the destruction of human life on the face of the earth. This was created through treachery. Robert Oppenheimer helped develop the atomic bomb, and then America's atomic bomb secrets were transferred by other communists to the Soviet Union, including Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Oppenheimer himself was a communist. And this has endangered human life ever since. And I propose that we change that and solve each other's problems. Russia and the United States have common enemies in China, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. Those who became the Israelis enslaved the Russian people under Marxism. Trotsky and Lenin were both of that ethnicity, and they mass murdered probably 50 to 100 million people in the Russian Empire. They caused the world wars, which were terrible for the Russian people. And they continue to enslave the Russians under Vladimir Putin, who is subservient to oligarchs from that same ethnicity. And these people also oppress Americans. They rent us into debt, especially in the Middle Eastern wars, to create hegemony for Israel, which is an enemy of both Russia and the United States. And this ethnicity is trying to raise up China and Xi Jinping as the Antichrist to destroy people of European descent throughout the world. This is a threat to Russians and Americans. So we have China and Israel as common foes. Saudi Arabia has been ripping off the American consumer for a very, very long time. It is a very treacherous nation which is now siding with China at the behest of Israel against the United States. Previously, it had done terrible harm to the Soviet Union by lowering oil prices. It is now doing terrible harm to America and the West by jacking up oil prices. Saudi Arabia is clearly an enemy of the United States, at minimum a direct competitor to Russia, and is favoring the Chinese. Chinese are also a threat to Russia. They want to take over outer Manchuria and all of Siberia. They are benefiting from this war that Russia is waging against Ukraine at the behest of this same ethnicity, which wants to create heavenly Jerusalem within Ukraine, depopulate Ukraine, render the Ukrainian people a sterile slave race, is killing off breeding age Ukrainians and shipping out breeding age Ukrainians from the country. These are common enemies that Americans, Russians, and Ukrainians share. And this same enemy has pitted us against each other with mutually assured destruction. And I propose we end that and work on mutually assured preservation. I propose an American-Russian mutually assured preservation treaty so that we move from MAD to a MAP. And again, I published that in my banned book. And for decades before then, I had been discussing these ideas. To demonstrate the threat that China poses to Russia, we can look at Outer Manchuria. Mao Zedong said that this was one of the unequal treaties that was reached between the Russians and the Qing dynasty of China. Qing were Manchu, they were Manchurians, they were not Han Chinese, and they ceded this territory to the Russian Empire. The Chinese have wanted to take it back ever since. The Communist Chinese Party has a policy of revanchism, of irredentism, of trying to recapture this, but they don't only want that. They also want Lake Baikal. They want this fresh water from the massive reserves of fresh water in Siberia. In Lake Baikal, China has been enduring droughts, and they want all of this forest resources, the oil, the natural gas, which is located throughout Siberia, and Outer Manchuria, as they call it. And interestingly, in this area of Outer Manchuria, there is a Jewish autonomous oblast, which has a very minuscule population of Jews, but nevertheless remains a Jewish autonomous oblast. It's interesting that their flag is the rainbow flag, the Kabbalistic rainbow flag. And the Chinese are also a threat to the Indians. The Chinese don't want to take this oil they're getting from Saudi Arabia and many of the other goods and resources that they're going to be transporting in the Belt and Road Initiative through the Malaccan Straits. This Strait of Malacca could easily be closed off in the event of a war between China and America. China's taking over the South China Sea. It's threatening in the Yellow Sea to join with North Korea to pinch off South Korea and attack Japan. It's threatening Taiwan and Hong Kong. It has already captured. Chinese tend to be very racist people. China means center of the earth. They are trying to unite the Chinese race. They have taken Hong Kong. They want to take Taiwan. They believe that they are superior human beings to all other human beings on the earth. They want to take over the entire earth, and they are working with the Israelis to do that through their Belt and Road Initiative, rather than being forced to engage in shipping through the Strait of Malacca. They want to take off and bite off this piece of India and go through East Pakistan, Bangladesh, to create a corridor straight into the Bay of Bengal, and then they'll have open seas as opposed to this narrow channel, which can be completely blocked off. So this war, which has been raging against Russia and America ever since this ethnicity overthrew the Tsar in 1917, is completely artificial and unnecessary. It is pitting European peoples against each other, threatening the entire human race, the future existence of humanity. Russians and Americans have numerous common interests and common foes. Russia has a strong foe in China, which wants to take over outer Manchuria, capture the freshwater of Lake Baikal, and take over all of Siberia, all the way across from Kazakhstan, all the way, and gain all those natural resources. So China has been subtly encouraging Russians' aggressions against Ukraine at the behest of the Israelis, who want to capture heavenly Jerusalem in southern Ukraine for themselves and become a massive part of the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, both through Israel and through Ukraine. The Chinese are taking oil and natural gas from this supposed pan-Turkish empire. They import a great deal of that energy. They are reluctant to utilize Russian energy as much as they are now trying to capture all of the energy of the Gulf with a alliance between Saudi Arabia and Iran. This same ethnicity has artificially pitted the United States against Iran at the behest of Israel, who gets more than 40% of its oil from the Caspian Sea oil of Baku in Azerbaijan. It has pitted Azerbaijan against the Iranians and amplified old hatreds between Azeris and Armenians in hopes of exterminating the Armenians, whom the Israelis view as Amalekites. So we have all these common enemies and no reason whatsoever to be attacking one another, let alone raising an existential threat against each other with mutually assured destruction. Russia was a major ally of the United States in the Civil War, all the way through to 1917, when this same ethnicity turned on Russia, an American ally, in exchange for the Balfour Declaration, brought America into the war, but at the same time destroyed America's ally, Russia, by overthrowing the Tsar, which eventually produced the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, which enabled the Germans to continue their fight against Americans and kill Americans. This was another instance of terrible treachery from this enemy of America. This enemy of America, Jacob Schiff, being one of the principal financiers from this ethnicity, funded Imperial Japan against Russia and created a greater threat for America in World War II by building up Imperial Japan, which was an enemy of Russia, which had been an ally of the United States. So this treacherous ethnicity has been forever manufacturing, funding, and building up hostilities of our enemies against the United States and against Russia. And Russians and Americans ought to unite against this ethnicity and all of its cat's paws, like China and Saudi Arabia, treacherous Saudi Arabia, which is betraying the United States after ripping us off and building up its nation with our wealth for a very, very long time. So what would be the benefits? What we could do is create this American-Russian mutually assured preservation treaty, whereby America and Russia, instead of pledging to destroy one another with nuclear weapons, would come to one another's defense if either nation were attacked with nuclear weapons by China, France, the United Kingdom, Pakistan, India, North Korea, or Israel. Both Russia and America would strike that nation with nuclear weapons and completely obliterate them. That is something that would ensure peace and would prevent nuclear war. We would thereby ensure, instead of ensuring one another's mutual destruction, we would ensure one another's mutual preservation. We would ensure world peace. and we would bring China, North Korea, which are both potential enemies of Russia and are certainly enemies of the United States, to heel. We could force them to surrender their nuclear weapons. We could force Israel to surrender its nuclear weapons and all of the other powers which hold nuclear weapons. We could force them to disarm, and we would thereby not only preserve each other, but preserve world peace, at least from nuclear war. We could also, to create this incentive for Russia to join with us, first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get rid of the Chabad-Lubavitch-Putin regime, and we're going to have to get rid of politicians in America who are beholden to AIPAC and major Israeli first donors, and get politicians in both the United States and Russia in power who have the best interests of Americans and Russians at heart, who are not subservient to interests which want to bring us into war against each other, but instead want to work towards this mutually assured preservation, this map to peace. If we can accomplish that, we can get Russia to withdraw from Ukraine. We can demilitarize Ukraine. We can create an incentive for Russia to do this by offering to subsidize Russian oil purchases by America with a 25% subsidy. At the same time, we should punish Saudi Arabia for betraying us and siding with China against us with a 200% tax on all imports from Saudi Arabia, or simply ban imports from Saudi Arabia. We should open up imports from Iran to punish Israel and also to lower the price of oil in the United States, and perhaps offer a 10 or 15% subsidy on imports from Iranian oil, all of these based on fair market value of oil at the time. We should do the same with Venezuela. We should offer 10 to 15% American government subsidies for all imports from Venezuela and open up Venezuela to full importation by America and Europe, open up Russia and Iran. We should also create a special trade and bartering relationship with Russia where we subsidize goods imported from Russia, get the Russians to do the same, and we could create very favorable, mutually beneficial trade relationships with Russia. We could utilize Russian natural resources and provide them with high tech. We should stop all manufacturing in China and replace that with manufacturing in America. India has been very duplicitous in this relationship, but if America and Russia were to arrive at a mutual peace, I'm sure India would be jumping up and down to become a part of that coalition for world peace. This is so vastly superior to the status quo at the moment, where the Russians are openly threatening to destroy America with nuclear bombs. This situation was created by Julius and Ethel Rosenberg and the traitorous communists who gave America's atomic bomb secrets to Russia. And then later, America's missile technology was given to China by the Israelis. This has been an ongoing betrayal by these people of Americans in favor of enemies that they have created for us largely. And I think that this could result in world peace. It would solve the current crisis in Ukraine. It would completely reverse everything that happened in the Soviet Union, which artificially made an enemy out of Russia. The United States and Russia could benefit one another's cultures. If we can get rid of this subversive enemy, which is destroying our culture and rendering it degenerate, that would be another reduction in tensions between the United States and Russians, all of which has been artificially manufactured by these treacherous people who want to destroy both Americans and Russians. They have a very old hatred of Russians, and they view America as Edom, an enemy which has to be completely exterminated, like the Armenians, whom they view as Amalekites, the worst of the Edomites, the children of Esau. And we can free ourselves from the shackles of these people who view us as subhuman, as slaves who must be exterminated, and we can reorient the entire world into a positive direction, away from this horrible quest for World War III, which these same forces are trying to thrust us into. It will be beneficial for both nations. We will both immediately begin to prosper. We will oppose this threat coming from communist China, which threatens to enslave not only all European-based peoples, but all peoples on Earth under this vicious communist system. They are turning their own children into robots. They are trying to create a master race of Chinese using genetic manipulation. It is a horrible, horrible system. We don't want that to be the future of mankind, and we can certainly prevent it if we replace the system of mutually assured destruction with mutually assured preservation. An American-Russian mutually assured preservation treaty. America will get Russian oil and natural resources. Russia will get American goods, all at subsidized discounts. We will build up our economies. We will build up the economies of European peoples and peoples throughout the world, and we will shut down this Israeli-Chinese axis, which threatens to create a global Marxist government that will enslave and then exterminate humanity. I really think it would be a wonderful platform for a bold presidential candidate in the United States who wants to step forward, unite the American people against the political parties, which are all controlled by this same ethnicity that's pitting us against one another, just as it has pitted the United States and Russia artificially against one another. It is now trying to create blue states and red states and a civil war in America and destroy the United States for the benefit of Israel and China. Russia will certainly never benefit from any of this if it continues on the path of following the misguided leadership of these same people. Same is true of the United States, but there's so much to be achieved if we can simply reverse this process and work for our mutually assured preservation. Please visit my website, CJBBooks.com. You won't find my panned book. This book is extremely scarce these days and very, very valuable. You can get a PDF of this book, which was likewise banned because I've been warning for decades that they would turn Saudi Arabia and the oil producers against the U.S. in favor of China and Russia. I have been warning that they were going to try to make a Soviet socialist republic out of Turkey and out of Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, etc. And I knew all of this was coming. I have a proposal that can stop all this, reverse all of this, and get us on the right track. Please visit my website, CJBBooks.com. There is a donation link beneath each book title. Please donate. I want to thank all of you who have generously contributed. It really, really helps. And much more than that, I hope that people can latch on to this idea of changing direction from mutually assured destruction between U.S. and Russia to mutually assured preservation between the United States and Russia. It will bring peace and prosperity to the world. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.